Today on the Diz List, we talk about the best things to do with young kids at Walt Disney World.
Welcome to the Diz List, the podcast that lists everything in Walt Disney World. I'm Nick.
And I'm Robin. Today we're going to talk about best things to do with younger kids at Walt Disney World. Now, sometimes when we do these episodes, we like to start with a definition. So our definition of young kids is young kids. It is up to you what a young kid is.
You know who's not a young kid?
Us.
Yeah.
Yeah, you specifically. You want to tell everybody why you're not a young buck anymore? Yeah, but I would have done this too, to be fair. Go ahead.
I fell harder than I've ever fallen. I got thinking last night.
So this happened yesterday.
So while I was at the show last night for your band.
Yeah, so Nick always comes out whenever my band plays. He's kind of like our unofficial fifth member who comes and slings merch and helps us out. Right. So I get a text from Nick. Let me tell this first part here.
Go ahead.
I get a text from Nick, like thinking it's the normal text I get from him before we go and play a show. It's, hey, what time are you picking me up?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we live in the same town. I go and pick him up and we drive up together. We meet the rest of the guys. But this text said, I'm old. I fell really hard. I don't think I broke my arm, but it's pretty bad. I'll let you go from there. And I wrote back, I go, I have so many questions. Just answer this. Where did this happen?
Yeah. So in my driveway, I'm glad it was me, okay? Because my in-laws, they could have fallen. That would have been way worse.
Yeah, that's true.
I pulled the truck out of the garage. I go to get out of the truck, and I go full blown my feet had to be in the air, but I don't know how they could have been because I also ended up underneath my truck.
That part I haven't quite pictured in my head yet.
And the only thing that stopped my head from hitting the ground was my elbow, and so I can bend my arm, but not totally. And yeah, I'm old, and it was one of those things. Like, I can remember growing up playing in Thanksgiving football games. I don't know if you ever did this. In my hometown, it was like, you go on Thanksgiving Day, and in the morning you play this football game, no pads, and people are tackling. I have never been hit as hard as I was yesterday, even in playing in that game with oh my gosh, it hurt so much so that an hour later, I said to my wife, I go, my ankle kind of hurts. I wonder what that's about.
I forgot about this part.
So I pull up my pant leg. I'm bleeding through my sock like Kurt Schilling because I hit the ground so hard that my ankle had scraped. Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, you had a rough day.
Yeah,
but it ended well.
Yeah, no, it was great. Yeah, we had a great show.
And
I posted some stuff for the close friends. On Instagram.
So if you follow us on Instagram, send a message to the Diz List account. Most of the time it's Nick. I'm on there more frequently now. I try to get on there more and post videos and stuff. But Nick put up, and if you're, that'll probably be gone by now. But on a regular basis, we're trying to put more things up under.
We're trying to get better with the close friends list.
Yeah.
So it's not just when we're on trips.
Yeah.
I mean, when we're on trips, we're doing.
Yeah.
We're doing a lot for the close friends, but yeah. So if you're a Patreon member, and even free, send me your IG handle and I'll be posting stuff on the close friends.
Yeah.
But last night, and Rob wore his Bull Airs.
Oh, I did.
You wore your Bull Airs. So.
Yeah. So if you're first, second, third time listener, we have a good friend of the show who's a big Disney fan. We had an interview with him back in August, I believe. Is that when you went on your trip?
Yeah. Yep.
Because the interview, we interviewed this guy.
I interviewed him from live from Animal Kingdom.
The lobby.
Yeah.
The lobby of Animal Kingdom. So our friend Tom, who's from our area, we know him through music. He was on Ink Master, and then after that decided to make custom shoes for people.
Yeah.
and he's a good friend of ours, and we're really helping to try to cross promote his brand, and he's helping to promote Dizlist and my band Into the Light. So I wore a pair of his shoes last night on stage, and Nick took a bunch of pictures.
Yeah.
And so you might be thinking, what are the shoes? What does this have anything to do with Disney or anything else?
Oh,
so
they're Goldberg.
Explain.
Yeah, those
what kinds of shoes does he make?
Yeah, they're pop culture shoes. I mean, if it's 80s, 90s pop culture, he's probably got a shoe for it or is cooking one up.
Yes.
So
he does a great job. And
we love Tom. Tom's a great guy.
He doesn't sponsor the show or send it. He does send us, full disclosure, he sends us a pair of shoes now and again to help promote him. So I want to be clear to our listeners how that works.
We'd promote him anyway.
They're just so cool.
Yeah. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he is. So we had a lot to talk about today. So there's
some news.
You got hurt.
So I fell.
We had our show last night. Saw some great people last weekend. A listener who, and this happened after the show.
I forgot about this.
I went to my old high school. Okay, I graduated from Newark High School. Shout out to the Newark Reds. And I had there's a girl I graduated with was there, and I go to check in to see my nieces play. Shout out to Lily. Great job in Mamma Mia. And I walk in, and we're getting our tickets. And I hear, "Hey, Rob," and this girl's waving, and I look over, and she says, "Oh, it's my favorite podcaster." I don't know if she wants me to say her name or not, so I won't. But just know I recognize you, and I appreciate.
That's funny.
So that was cool too.
It never gets old, right? It never gets old.
It's cool. And sometimes our students will say, "Hey, listen to your podcast." I'm like, "Cool, thank you."
Yeah. They think it's. I think I can't figure out if the students think it's ironic. You know what I mean?
Well, maybe.
But yeah. So we got some big news yesterday.
Well, and then also during the show, you and I are sitting having a drink before we played, and I take my phone and I hand it over to Nick, and I go, "Well, here's our whole show for tomorrow."
Yeah, right.
I mean, we already had this thing planned, but I think Patreon, we're going to spend a little bit more time talking about a couple of these news bits a little bit more. But I really want to cover a lot of this stuff now in the first half of our show.
Talk about it. Yeah.
All right, you want me to go through the different news bits here?
I mean, sure. By the way, for news, if you're listening to this in the future.
Oh, that's true. That's important to know that it is mid-March, early March.
Early March of 2025.
And this stuff changes so frequently.
Yeah.
And that's also true with the kids stuff, too. If you're listening to our show and you're like, wait, that's not there anymore, just take a look at when we recorded the podcast.
Barnstormer goes away. We got a problem, though. But anyway.
Barnstormer?
Barnes.
We have a friend named Barnes. Sorry.
That's fine.
Inside joke.
Yeah.
All right. First one is they showed us a little bit more of the ride vehicles for the Monsters, Inc. Ride that they're going to do. I'm looking for the name for it. Do you know the name off the top of your head?
I do not.
It's called the Door. Well, it just says Door Coaster here.
I mean, either way, these ride vehicles like this.
Can you see this, Nick?
Yeah, I can see
We have a screen up in the studio here. I'm showing Nick on the screen.
This is going to be a phenomenal ride.
Yes. I think it's going to be awesome. So
it's going to be so crazy.
In Western New York, in the Buffalo area, there's a theme park that we don't really go to a ton. Is it even Six Flags anymore? It's called Darien Lake.
Yeah, I think it's back to Six Flags. So
Darien Lake has one of these suspended coasters, which I've done before, and it's cool. It's
not like this.
No, it's not like this. So the concept art that we're looking at, my best way to describe it is it's similar to, you'll get on it. It's like Soarin'.
Yeah.
Sort of.
No, I was going to say it's very similar to it looks like you're getting on Soarin'.
Yep. You get on Soarin', but it's grouped, looks like it's groups of two.
Yeah, and then you're not on Soarin'.
And then you go straight up in the air, also similar to what you would do in Soarin', and then your car turns, and then you're in kind of like a regular roller, I don't want to say single file line, it's a double file line maybe.
Yeah.
And then you go through this little portal, and then you are in the ride. So you can't see what's in the ride till you go through this.
You're riding the door, right? Yep. You're on the. If you've seen Monsters Inc., you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But that is going to be
awesome. fun.
Oh my God.
I mean, fast, but I feel like it's going to be similar to that ride style of Tron and Slinky Dog, where it's so smooth, and you just feel like you're flying.
I think it's going to be more. I mean, I think this might take over for Cosmic Rewind. To be honest with you,
Could be,
because Cosmic Rewind's got that traditional car, like roller coaster car.
Now, I would really be looking forward to a combination of practical and projector effects inside of this, because they're going to have physical doors and they're going to be moving. I'm sure you're going to be weaving in and out of them. Involved with projectors, I'm sure they'll have suspended animatronics of Sully.
I'm certain there's going to be like the door opens at one point, like you're gonna be like almost not a stop, but I'm sure that there's going to be a door open and projector's going to show like into a kid's bedroom.
Right.
Either way, this is going to be crazy good.
And I'll end with this too. It's a smart move on Disney's part, or lazy, depending on how you look at this in particular. There's a Monsters, Inc. attraction in California Adventure already. And that was kind of an overlay for another older ride, which I won't get into too much now. But they already have the animatronics made for Sully or Boo or Mike Wazowski. And they're probably going to show up. So they just take that technology and they adapt it to whatever they're going to need for this particular ride.
What I think they should do? I think they should totally invent a completely different era of monsters with no characters that you know.
I just figured out what you're doing. Keep going. Keep going.
With no characters you know.
Right.
And then what they could do is they could stick really hard to that new era.
And there's one particular time period. So if you like Sully, you're not going to see Sully.
No, because Sully's not alive yet. Sorry, that's a shot at. For those of you who don't know, that's a shot at Galaxy's Edge
or Galaxy's Hedge.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
bad dad jokes from
our Instagram.
Yeah.
We also saw the new ride vehicles for Cars.
Yes, it looks similar to Dinosaur and Indiana Jones style.
It does. The initial sketch. Like Rob's like, hey, look, this is what the ride vehicles look like. I'm like,
and it's
I'm like a car.
Well, it's like the first thing I brought up because I was looking at the article. I was looking at this picture of sketches of the cartoon of the movie Cars.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, they're going to end up looking like that, but it's if you look at the ride vehicle,
the
it's not
3D
quite
model that the guy's holding is very reminiscent of Dinosaur / Indiana Jones.
Except no track, right? Wasn't it going to be a trackless ride? Some of the testing we saw was trackless.
What I heard was going to be trackless, but
I think it could be fun.
I mean, I'm skeptical about this one because
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm skeptical because I would have been fine with a carbon copy of Cars Land from DCA.
Well, I think they're afraid that it's too Cars Land. I mean, do you mean specifically Radiator Springs Racers?
I mean, yeah.
They use so much of Test Track.
Yeah, I guess. But Test Track's going away.
Yeah. Well, that's another news bit, too.
Yeah.
That they're, I won't go into all this. You're going to need to watch this for yourself. But it's either Disney Parks or Imagineering posted footage of inside of kind of what they took down. And so go and watch that. I'm not going to describe that part word for word.
I don't know. At first I was like, oh yeah, we're getting Cars Land. Then I was like, they're not rebranding Frontierland. It's now Cars are the new frontier. I don't know, whatever.
They might be going away with names completely.
But as far as the ride vehicle does look, like you said, reminiscent of Indiana Jones and of Dinosaur, that kind of ride vehicle. Looks like probably 3 or 4 across.
Let me go back.
3. I think it's 3 across.
I think it looks like 3.
Yeah, I think it's 3 across.
Yep.
2 rows or 3 rows.
No, 2 rows.
2 rows. Okay.
1, 2. All so right. 6 people per car. It looks like.
All right. Yeah. None of those big SUVs in this Cars ride. Just
now
2 rows.
We posted we talked about a news story. We didn't post. Well, maybe we did. But we talked about a news story a couple weeks ago. We heard podcaster Jim Hill.
Yeah.
Who I doubt he listens to our show, but the guy's great. He's a journalist, knows a ton about Disney.
Really awesome if he did.
Yes. Big fan of Jim Hill.
Yeah.
He had reported that he knew from inside sources. Again, all the stuff's rumors till it's confirmed. Literally, it's confirmed now. But he had said that there was going to be an overlay or a permanent change. We'll find out when we find out.
Yeah.
To Smuggler's Run, which Smuggler's Run right now is the one where you get on the Millennium Falcon and you do a task where you have to get the coaxium, and there's different characters. There's, Chewbacca's part of it. This guy Hondo is like the main character, and it looks like we're gonna get the Mandalorian and Grogu overlay, and they're taking that world, which is very popular. I really like The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
You're a fan of the show, too.
Absolutely.
I know some of our listeners are. But the part I like the best is probably my favorite Star Wars film is Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
They're going to be flying through Cloud City, which is technically called Bespin. But they're flying through Cloud City, and it looks like that is one of the overlays, if not more. We don't know. But that sounds so much fun. It's like my childhood. I grew up in the 80s watching Empire Strikes Back. Still watch it. And I know you love that movie, too.
Oh, yeah,
it's the first time you get to see Yoda, who's your favorite character.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're flying through this place that you grew up seeing. So to me, personally, as, a mid-40s, late 40s guy, this is like a dream for me.
Yeah, I mean,
even the two characters I like from now, being able to brings me into the world I've always wanted to be part of.
They've heard some of the complaints. They've heard the issues, and they are clearly trying to not make amends. That's a little too harsh.
Mm-hmm.
But like at the very least, they are trying to recognize that they need to. That ride is not re-rideable.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a feeling that like
they think it is, but it's not.
Flying through Bespin is not going to be the only. I suspect there's going to be multiple.
I hope you're right. That would be great.
Like missions, if you will.
Yeah.
But they've brought characters that we like, and they haven't abandoned the fact that like they want it to be new. Like Mandalorian's new. That's a Disney created property.
Yeah.
Right. This is not. This isn't Yoda. This is. I mean, Grogu is Baby Yoda.
It's like, Yoda's race. It's not.
Yeah.
Actually, there isn't a specific name for what race Yoda is. Yoda's a name.
Yeah. What I'm interested in is, are they going to still do like the same tasks? Pilot, engineer, gunner, or pilot, gunner, engineer.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to be, I mean, I don't mind being the engineer, but like, let's be honest. If you go with a group of people who all are into stuff, everybody wants to be the pilot.
Well, one of those rumors that we reported a couple weeks ago from Jim Hill, not from me personally, is that if you are the engineer, which are the two people in the back of 6, that there will be a special, not a special treat, I don't know what you call it, a reward. If that is your job, you will be rewarded by Grogu, who is Baby Yoda, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a good idea, personally. Speaking of Mandalorian,
well, you start with the rumor, and then we'll transition into what they've announced. What rumor did you hear about the guy who developed the Mandalorian?
So Jon Favreau, the rumor I've been hearing is Jon Favreau is one of 2 frontrunners. It's he and Dave Filoni to take over for the Star Wars films.
Universe brand.
I was almost
Lucasfilm.
I was going to say Lucasfilm, but like I wasn't sure if it was still called that. But so Kathleen Kennedy is out, leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And Favreau and Filoni are favorites.
Yeah, and they're both creators who have made a lot of current and older. Well, Dave Filoni did Clone Wars, and most recently did Ahsoka.
He's been in it longer than Favreau.
For sure.
But I think, like, we were having a discussion off mic
of who we think. Go ahead, you can share.
Yeah, no, I agree that Favreau would be the better one.
Yeah, they're both good.
Like his decisions are more true to the original LucasArts ideas.
Yeah.
So, like, if you watch Mandalorian and you're like, wow, that droid looks a little janky. It looks like literally a garbage can turned upside down. It's literally a garbage can turned upside down because he's like, I'm doing stuff that George Lucas did because I want it to look like that.
Yep.
So either way, I think the universe is in good hands.
All right, I'll finish up and then we're going to head off to halftime here. So I know that's longer news than normal, but there's a lot.
Yeah.
So that same gentleman we were talking about, Jon Favreau, is going to be developing a Oswald, the Lucky Rabbit series.
Oh, my God.
Which is really cool to be able to see that. And that is Walt Disney's original property before even Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
So that's going to be developed. And then last but not least, if you're a patron, you are going to hear us discuss one of the craziest stories out of Walt Disney World in a long time. It's a little gross. It is something that was reported this week that happened in Epcot on Cosmic Rewind. If you are interested in hearing this insanity, tune into Patreon
it's a crappy
this week.
show.
Actually, people who are listening probably already heard the Patreon. If you haven't and you're a patron, please listen to that episode.
Oh, my gosh.
Keep in mind there are some details that might not be the best.
Trigger warning.
Yeah.
So speaking of Patreon, our halftime show, as always, is brought to you by our patrons over at Dizzless, or at patreon.com/DizzlessPod. Go check that out. You can join for free. You get added to our close friends list that we were talking about earlier. And then for a small nominal fee, you can get early access to new episodes as well as bonus content each week. But we'll see you after the break. Welcome back. So today we're going to talk about what you should do with young kids. And like Rob said, we like to start with some definitions.
Yep.
Young kids is young to you.
Right. What do you think is young? Because
we're
we're talking definitely elementary and pre-K. You know.
When Rob brought this up to me yesterday about young kids, I think we had a different definition. Well, not definition, but like you had said, like, did you say toddlers? But like either way, like we were. I was like, well, I mean, young kids is just young kids.
Yeah.
And there's so many things that, like, at each park, like, you need to do. And we're not talking, like, some of these might apply to infants,
right?
Babies.
Yeah.
You know, some of them might be, okay, well, you can't do that yet. And then some of them are like, well, you're not, you know, if it's a 10-year-old, you're not going to do that. But, like, it depends on who your kid is.
Right.
And so I think having that loose definition of young kids being young kids is
well, and
it's kind of a.
Can a young kid go on Haunted Mansion? Sure, I did, but you know,
well,
not every kid can. You got to. Oh, you had a good point earlier. Go and watch videos. Watch videos.
We live in we live in the YouTube world, man.
Just if you're not sure, is Haunted Mansion too scary?
Yeah,
watch a video on YouTube and see.
And to be honest, like. My daughter, who is going to be 10, she still thinks that Haunted Mansion can be scary at times.
And that's fine. Every kid is different.
She doesn't really care for the first half of the ride. Because it's like...
I know.
And it's fine. But
my wife
but she's always going to go on it.
Yeah. My wife and son, they think it's creepy too. But, you know, they'll go on it because they enjoy it. And everybody's different. Yeah. So we're going to start first with Magic Kingdom, and I'm going to go through some things. You can jump in if I forget one, or if you have comments on certain things. So I'm going to go through the list of things that I think are going to be good for you to do with younger kids.
Yeah.
The first one, and definitely one that I know is mobbed with kids every time, and they love to see it, is the Frozen stage show, which they do, and there's a name for it. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but it takes place right in front of the castle. They kind of break out a little stage there, and they sing "Let It Go," and they have the characters all come out and they dance around, and it's a really good time. Kids love that because there isn't a ton of Frozen presence in the park. There isn't a specific
not in that
ride.
Yeah.
And in the other parks, we'll get to it later. We'll end up mentioning those things too. Because Frozen, I think arguably
it's one of the most popular IPs in the last.
I think it's probably the biggest. Moana's really big. Encanto's been really big. I don't think any of them have been as big as
It's
Frozen.
this generation's Lion King.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
even Toy Story.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that's fair to say.
so the stage show is one of those things. It's funny. Like, do you have one of those movies that you've never actually seen front to back, but you've seen the whole movie? You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Like,
that was Frozen for me for a while.
well, that's the Frozen stage show. I've never seen the whole stage show.
Yeah.
Like, I never stood there and watched it, but I've seen the entire stage show.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just based on like when I'm walking through.
And the parade's that way too.
Yeah.
If you don't just sit and watch the whole parade,
Yeah,
you kind of walk by it and go, "Oh yeah, there's the Tangled part," which is it's on my list also, is seeing the parade as well. So when we get to that one, I'll kind of fly by that one.
No, I
know
definitely
it's next on my list.
Okay, well, let's talk
next
about
on my
the
list is the parade, and the parade you can see they start way over in Frontierland by Tiana's.
That's where you should see it.
That's a good place to start.
That's
set up
the
and
place,
park there.
That's the place to go.
Yep. So I personally would park there. Okay, get a good spot, sit there, and then it's gonna go kind of down that route past Country Bears. Take a right. You don't go all the way down by Haunted Mansion. It takes a right, goes through Liberty Square, cuts through into the center of the park, and then goes down Main Street, USA, and then it kind of goes backstage over by, if you know where the barber is, kind of over.
I would
in
say
that spot.
every place except for Main Street is the better place to see it. I've seen it on Main Street, and
I have too.
It's so hot
Yeah.
on Main Street. Whereas
You and I watched it right in front of the castle. Remember?
yeah,
It was okay.
Frontierland is good because there's like spots that you can like sit. You can literally sit in a rocking chair and watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I've never watched it from here, but I could see where like at Hall of Presidents, like that little like that outdoor area there.
Yeah, we've watched it from there too.
Or even by the Liberty Bell.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's way better to not be on Main Street's great, but it's so hot.
Yeah,
and
it's a
so
pavement.
packed. Yeah. But I agree. You have to watch if you're there with a young kid, especially the first couple times. You got to see the parade. I mean, this isn't your average like Memorial Day or 4th of July parade. This is crazy good.
I'm going to blast through a couple, and then I'm going to land on one towards the end here because most of these are self-explanatory.
Yeah, go ahead.
Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin is great. Speedway, depending on your kid, kids enjoy driving before they have their license.
As long as they're not sensitive to like
smells,
carbon monoxide,
and it's loud too.
Yeah.
Barnstormer is a kid roller coaster. That's a great one for young
great
kids.
intro.
But again, know your kid because it's fast.
Mm-hmm.
Dumbo, you're going to talk about spinners here in a bit, so we'll go through that for now. Teacups, depending on I can't stand that. It makes me really sick.
But you don't have to spin it. You don't have to spin it. And I mean, it's classic.
Winnie the Pooh, Little Mermaid, those are classic dark rides.
Yeah.
They're great for all ages.
Little Mermaid might be my favorite dark ride in that part of the park.
Yeah, I enjoy that one too. Enchanted Tales with Belle. Do you want to talk about that one a little bit?
Oh, I like I know that you did it later in your parenting life.
I wish I did it earlier. I did it with teens, and both of my teens were really good and enjoyed it. But I want to hear it from
one of my favorite memories.
because you were in it, weren't you?
I was. Yeah.
So give us a short description of what it is and what happened.
I was the knight. One of the knights. You go into. I don't even know how to describe it. Like the part
You
of the
go in a little house.
Yeah, part of the queue. It's not really a queue. Like part of waiting for the show. You're in the house and you have a cast member who is talking to you and deciding roles.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, the wardrobe, like the wardrobe from Beauty and the Beast, starts talking to you, and like they start handing out roles, and I think they just find the guy who looks the least interested in being there. And like I was like at that point I was like whatever.
Well, it's hot day and
and
you're hanging with it. But
they hand me this thing. They're like, "You're a knight," and I was like, "Oh god." So like and here's the thing: if you have PhotoPass, the PhotoPass photographer takes pictures through the whole thing.
Good.
Except for you get everybody's. So I have there's probably 100 other people who are like, "Look at this freaking dude," because I'm standing there like trying to make eyes at my daughter, like get her to laugh and stuff, standing next to the fireplace. But they go through and they reenact kind of like the whole
story of Beauty and the Beast. Yeah.
And you meet Belle, and it is a very, very, very plussed up meet and greet.
Yes, it was cool.
And if you have little kids, You have to do if you're not doing this with little kids, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I get that you didn't do it, but like you would even admit that you really wish you would have done it sooner with those kids.
If you're listening to this and you're perking up and saying, "What is he talking about? I want to do whatever it's Enchanted Tales with Belle."
Yeah.
And it's kind of in the back. So if you were to go to the carousel and just keep going back straight, it's back there. It's kind of near Be Our Guest restaurant.
If you're going to Be Our Guest, you just kind of
turn left.
Left? I thought it was right.
You go left before. No, it's left because if you go right, it's just the path. They're both off to the left.
Yeah, yeah. But it's a phenomenal experience.
That's why I figured I'd pause on that because it's one of those ones. I would consider myself a Disney expert, and I didn't even really know it existed.
Yeah, it's kind of like Lost.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It is.
Small World is a fave of both of our families.
Absolutely.
Peter Pan, Magic Carpets. And then I put Jungle Cruise because it's for kids. I mean, a lot of the jokes are going to go over your head. And the younger kids, I think, will enjoy the animatronics for what they are.
Yep. And
whereas the older
adults.
Crowd, So I think that's a good one for both.
It's a good Disney-ish film, right? A good Disney film lands with some jokes that the parents get, but the kids don't, and that's kind of Jungle Cruise.
Well, and then I left off some things, too, which are not necessarily for kids. People Mover I didn't put on there. I also didn't put on there Tiana's Bayou Adventure.
No.
Because there are
not with
serious
kids.
drops.
If we're talking young kids, that could be a problem.
It is a crazy drop.
But again, this is one of those ones where know your kid, right? We talked about that before. Yeah. Know your kid and also watch videos.
Yeah.
So that's at Magic Kingdom. What do we got?
Epcot is next. Let's go around to Epcot. I mean, some of the things are, they may be bored if they go in Spaceship Earth. You could take them in there, but it's not the most exciting thing for kids.
Know your kids, though, because my kids love it.
Right. And it's not for everybody. So one of the ones that is The Seas with Nemo and Friends. Mm-hmm. Pretty much that whole area is like a really great aquarium.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Highly recommend that entire thing for young kids.
If you don't like kids, don't go in there because there are kids running around everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's fine. I love it. I think it's great because seeing kids get excited about that stuff.
Well, and then you can have the same argument. I did not put Living on the Land on my list, Living with the Land on my list, which I know you love. But I could see a lot of younger kids just being bored on that ride. No offense.
If you're a family from the country like we are, who has a garden like we do,
they'll love it.
They're like, oh my gosh, look at the size of that tomato plant, Dad. Like, it's kind of cool. But know your kid. But definitely younger kids, really young kids could get bored on that because it's a long ride.
Then what I would do is do Nemo and then walk over to that corner of the park and go into Imagination Pavilion, Journey into Imagination with Figment. A lot of adults, especially ones my age who remember the old one, are not huge fans of it. But I think young kids would love the character and have a great time on the Imagination ride. I have a love-hate relationship with that ride. I know a lot of our listeners do, but it's good for kids.
It needs some love, but what kids don't realize it needs love.
Also in that general area is a great one for kids, and that's Journey of Water with Moana. That's a great thing for young kids.
Like, people want to, people love to hate on that. And there's things they could have done better. People are like, oh, we had these walls, and all we got is a walkthrough.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Like, go over to Europe, because Europe and Tokyo Disney and they have a lot of those walkthrough attractions. Mm-hmm. And I don't hear any of you complaining about the queue to nowhere over in Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, right. Notice I didn't put that on the list. That's Swiss Family Treehouse.
Yeah.
I put Ratatouille on the list because I think it's just kid-friendly enough. It's not. We love it. There's a little bit of thrill. I mean, here and there, like with the wind. But would you put that on your list?
I would.
Or not?
Okay, I would 100%.
I did too.
At this point, you're talking like 4 years old, 3, 4 years old and up. Like, you're not like an infant's not going to care.
I think my target for a lot of this is probably like a kindergartner.
Yes. Yeah.
5, 6 years old.
Oh my gosh. Because
it's
just the right amount of thrill. And all of a sudden that wine bottle pops and you get sprayed a little bit with water.
It's not too crazy.
It's just the right amount. Yeah, I agree.
And then you walk a little further down. We're going around that loop, kind of counterclockwise. You have Frozen Ever After, which has a little bit of a drop, but I still think that's the right amount for
You're fine.
a kindergartner.
You forgot one, by the way.
What I forget?
Over in the Imagination Pavilion, I think you have to, with young kids, go see the not the movie there with the.
Oh yeah, the short film festival call it now.
There you go.
That's great. Good, thank you.
Because that's like for young kids. I can remember my kids being like, "Wait, the floor is moving!" Like, so I think that's a must do too. But anyway, go ahead.
So you do Frozen Ever After with a little mini drop. Okay, again, do your research, but it's not crazy. It's fun, not scary. You keep going to the Mexico Pavilion, and we have
you have to do Tres Caballeros.
There you go
with kids, like because
super fun.
Donald's like one of their favorite characters anyway, right?
Yeah.
So like
it's a baseline that everybody knows.
Look, we're watching, like as adults we watch it and we're going through that and like, man, this ride kind of actually needs a lot of help. But as a kid, those kids are like, oh my gosh, Donald's lost, ha ha ha. And like, plus, I mean, you have kids, you've made it that far through Epcot, you need a margarita. So
yes,
so you go in there.
Another thing I will mention that a lot of people don't know, unless you listen to podcasts like this or you have a friend who tells you, is they have this thing called Kid Cot, which is your kids do it. You want to talk about that quick?
Well, I mean, it's just every single one of the countries has like a little Kid Cot station. You stop in, and like they talk to somebody who, for a while after COVID, they had gone away, and then they're back to the actual cultural. Are they called cultural representatives? I can't remember what they're called, but like the cast member who's from the country, and like it's just so cool. So it's like in China, they're getting like I can't remember exactly what it is, but like they write their name, I think, in cuneiform or something like that. But either way, it's every single country's got their own little thing in Kid Cot. It's awesome. I love Kid Cot.
Now, there isn't a ton of Animal Kingdom because a lot is closed right now. So if you're just know and you're listening, it's 2025 March.
Right, and the spinner's gone.
Yep.
So
the first one I put was go for a walk on the different animal treks.
Oh, yeah.
There's one that we've talked about a lot on the show. I'm not going to go into it a ton, but if you go out to Rafiki's Planet Watch, you can draw if your kid likes to draw.
And if they don't like to draw, just go out there anyway. Right. Like it's a perfect break.
What I was going to say is for a younger kid, their attention span won't be long enough to do the animation drawing. Yeah. Again, know your kid, but if you go out there, you said exactly what I was going to go. The petting zoo is out there. It's great for young kids.
You go from a packed Animal Kingdom. You take this little train, and all of a sudden you're at a local park.
And the ride is great too. Like, that little train ride. Yeah. That's a great thing to do. And then right in that same area, the Kilimanjaro Safari.
Yeah, you have for young kids. With kids, you've got to do the safari, 100%.
There's a Finding Nemo Broadway caliber stage show, which they just redid.
That is my second favorite show in all of Disney World, and my number one show is, I'm sure, on your list, but Animal Kingdom for shows,
yep,
amazing. Because I'm guessing that the next one's going to be Lion King.
Yeah, next is the Lion King show, which is awesome for kids. Both of them are great.
So here's the thing: an adult will watch it and just love the music and love, like, they will be as an adult, I'm in awe of like the athleticism. As a kid, the costumes are just costumey enough that they think they watched actual monkeys like doing stuff on the parallel bars and stuff. It is, oh God, I love that show.
It's great.
And if you have kids and you sit close enough to the front, at the end of the show, when they do like the whole circle, like they start dancing around the
grand finale, essentially.
Yeah, they'll pull your kids out and they'll go dance with them. So that's kind of cool.
The bird show I know you don't love, and I'm not sure if it's running right now.
I love it.
Your wife doesn't.
My wife does not like birds.
The bird show is great. Navi River Journey I would put on there.
For little kids?
For
absolutely.
The little kids. Yeah. I think if you're thinking, really any of the other attractions there are not necessarily
you're not going to go on Everest with the little kid.
But let's say you do a half day, and people always say it's not a half day park. Maybe with younger kids, you do all of these things.
It's a half day park now.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes, it is. And then around the corner, Hollywood Studios is their neighbor to the north. It looks like a short list, but there's quite a bit to do if you're really looking at this list here. So for now, Muppets is still going, right? Is it still open, or did they close it?
Yeah, it's closing
very soon.
By the time people listen to this, they probably have
probably closed.
Month and a half.
You have Alien Swirling Saucers
Yep.
in Toy Story Land.
Yes.
That's a great one for kids. You have Toy Story Midway Mania, very exciting. Kids, even if they're younger, you pull on this little lever, and you kind of participate in these different Midway games.
Midway
Kids will love
Mania
it.
is greater than Space Ranger Spin.
By far.
Yep.
And the West Coast version of Space Ranger Spin is also better. They have a different name for it out there. Mickey and Minnie Runaway Railway, one of yours and my favorites.
I love that ride.
Great for all ages. You could be 5, you could be 95.
And guess
You'll
what?
love
As
it.
long as you like at least one of the original Disney characters, you're going to enjoy your time because there's Mickey, there's Minnie, there's Goofy, there's Pluto, Donald, Daisy. There's, I mean, it's the whole cruise there.
There is a Disney Junior area, which I'm not familiar with, so
I've
can't
been in there.
elaborate. Go ahead. I
mean-
can't even tell you.
Well, my first trip, my daughter was at that point really heavy into like Vampirina and Doc McStuffins and stuff like that. It's good. I mean, it's a nice area. I think it's needed. I think it's weird that it's in that park, but it is what it is.
I have 2 more here.
Okay.
One I have seen and love, and the other one I have not seen before. It's one of the only things I haven't done.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. So if you wouldn't mind talking about both of these, Frozen Sing Along, which I love,
Yeah, that's
and Fantasmic, because I haven't seen either of them. So my point
You
is,
haven't seen either of them?
No. I excuse me, I misspoke. Frozen Sing Along, I love, and I've seen that multiple times.
Yeah.
Fantasmic, I have not seen.
Fantasmic, if you have a kid who's able to stay up that late, then definitely you're gonna wanna do Fantasmic. Fantasmic is one of these ones that like excuse me, one of these attractions and shows that will appeal to all ages of Disney fandom.
Well, I think Frozen's kind of like that too.
Oh,
Maybe there's a cutoff of some maybe older Disney guests who aren't as connected with Frozen.
Teenage boys probably don't like it, and that's about it. And
Yeah.
even my son would be like, "Yes, whatever." I'm gonna go
The
on
songs are good. I don't know.
that.
I think that's it for my list of different things you could do in the 4 main parks there. But you said you had a couple things that you wanted to talk about before we finish.
Well,
Overall things.
yeah,
like you
overall things, like you have to do spinners, right? I mean, I don't like them. Rob doesn't like them, but like little kids love them, and so you got to do the Dumbo rides. You got to do. You can skip Magic Carpets if you ask me, but like Dumbo
I don't mind that one.
and like now that I mean are those the only spin? We used to make fun of it so much,
Yeah.
but Astro Orbiter's gone.
Triceratops Spin is gone.
Yeah. So, but spinner rides are obviously like Alien Swirling Saucers is kind of a spinner ride.
Yeah.
Like you got to do that. You got to do. I think I know you kind of brushed over it. I think you have to do the Tea Party and just don't spin the cup.
Yeah.
I love everything that is to do with those little kid rides because it brings me back to being a little kid.
Mhm.
And one thing that you didn't mention is dining. So like with little kids,
Oh, good way to add. I
Like-
agree.
you kind of have to figure out a place to do a character dining.
Yes.
So whether that's
Yep.
Garden Grill, which is one of the best character dining spots there is.
I would say
in-
Chef
in a-
Mickey's personally.
I'm talking about in parks.
In the park. Okay. Fair.
in parks, I think that Garden Grill is the best, in my opinion.
And
Then-
Tusker House is in the park.
Tusker House
That's a character meal.
Right, but I'm talking about for character interactions for little kids.
Okay.
So Tusker House, I think, would be difficult for eating with a little kid
Okay.
because it's a little bit more. You have to have an adventurous eater.
Okay.
Garden Grill is like meat and potatoes, like
Good.
your standard fare, whether it's breakfast, lunch, whatever you're having. But like Tusker House can be a little bit adventurous. Crystal Palace, if your kid really likes the Winnie the Pooh stuff,
Great
then
choice.
Crystal Palace is a good one.
That's in Magic Kingdom.
Yep. But I would say Garden Grill is probably for character dining, probably where it's at.
Yeah. Good choice.
As far, but if we're talking about in parks, I think you owe it to yourself to do at least one of the. Now, if your kid's an adventurous eater, you are not going to get better food than you are at Tusker House.
Mhm.
You're just not. It's probably my third favorite buffet ever. Period.
Wow.
End of story. So I mean, it's a really, really good spot. So,
well, I know this is a little bit longer.
Yeah,
but,
it is.
But there's a lot to cover.
Lots of stuff to do with little kids. Plus lots of news.
Do us a favor. Please send this to someone who has young kids and is thinking about going to Walt Disney World. I think it'd really help them, and it helps us grow, and we appreciate it. And before we go, Nick, you want to talk about the contest that we're running right now?
Yeah, so right now...
If it's not March, by the way, the contest isn't happening.
Yeah. So our last episode of March, actually, we'll probably do it right after the last episode of
So they
March.
have the full month, yeah.
Yeah. But we're going to take all of our subscribers over on YouTube, put them in a list, and do a wheel of names and spin. And the grand prize is going to be a giveaway for something from magicmerch.art. Any t-shirt you want. Rob's pointing to the stuff that's scrolling through our screen if you're on YouTube watching. But magicmerch.art, any of the designs there, we got some new ones coming too. And I mean, maybe you want a Dizzless shirt. You can get it there.
I'm wearing that right now, too.
We've got mugs and stuff over there. But the giveaway is going to be for any T-shirt you want. It'll be shipped right to your door, no cost to you whatsoever. Mm-hmm. But you have to be a subscriber on YouTube. So that's our giveaway coming up.
Cool.
So, but it's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. And tomorrow's just a list away.
Tune in next time, and we'll see you real soon.